Hey everyone, it's Maribel Blue with a new Unfiltered. I am not putting this in the pathetically unfiltered series. This is a very sensitive topic. So before I even do my intro, I just need to say I will leave the comments open. However, any disrespect within the comments, all of them will be reported. I'm just warning you now. I will not tolerate any hate or racist comments on my channel, on my comments, nothing. I want nothing to do with it. And all of your comments will be reported if you choose to go that route. So I just wanted to say that up front. If you are new here, welcome to this channel. I do news and reactions. And if you are not new, welcome back. This is a special Unfiltered. I will be about the death of Nolan Wells and everything that has surrounded his death and what is going on. Apparently, he drowned, but what led to the drowning, no one really knows. And I think we all need to understand why it is we have gotten to this point. Why is it the Black community is saying, we want answers as to what is going on? When you think about everything that is happening right now in our political climate, that family has every right to question what happened to their child. It's just absolutely horrible. I have no words as to how to describe. I was watching a clip, which I'm going to share later in this video, with Don Lemon interviewing the family, and it was very painful to hear Nolan's mother talk about her son and the pranks that he would play, his personality. You got a little glimpse of who Nolan was when he was alive. And such a travesty. At 18 years old, his whole life is over. First, I'm going to play some videos from Law and Crime with Jesse Weber, who hosts Sidebar, and then we're going to come back and discuss.
This does not smell right. One of them is telling the truth, one of them is not.
We just want to know what happened and why our baby didn't come home.
Reverend Al Sharpton and attorney Ben Crump standing with the family of Nolan Wells today, demanding a full investigation into the death of the 18-year-old college football player whose body was found on Mississippi's Horn Island. As the family awaits the results of an independent autopsy, new questions are being raised about what really happened to Nolan Wells. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Big update in the Nolan Wells story. This is something we've been following. There is a major press conference that was just held. And this is the story of that 18-year-old Southwest Mississippi Community College football player, graduate of Ocean Springs High, who disappeared while boating with friends on Horn Island. This is right off the coast of Mississippi. It's back on the July 4th weekend. We know that his body was tragically found that Monday on the island, washed ashore. His family is demanding transparency. They're demanding a full investigation. In fact, Christine and Elmore Wansley told Good Morning America, GMA, in an interview today, we just want honesty and transparency. We want a thorough investigation. We want that same respect that would be given to anybody else, and that's it. We just want answers. And they have even retained prominent civil rights attorney Ben Crump. We did a sidebar yesterday explaining why they would want to hire a lawyer at this time. It's about ensuring that they get the information they're seeking, potentially assessing a legal issue for a lawsuit, pressuring authorities to be transparent about the investigation.
And I just want to say very quickly here, we all need to understand why they would obtain an attorney. Unfortunately, we live in a world where if Nolan Wells was a white boy, the news would be different. This would be the top of the news every day, all day long. It is unfortunate that we live in a society today where colorism still exists, very much so. They will put headline news on white people. Sometimes I can't even believe I'm talking like this. I mean, I'm a person who grew up with people of color because I am a person of color. And that's all we knew. And this separation and the bickering and the racism, it's just over the top for me. I guess I never knew as a child growing up it existed this bad, and how terrible the family has to seek an attorney so they can get answers as to what happened to their child.
Ordering an independent autopsy. In fact, Ben Crump told ABC News Live this week that Nolan's body would be flown to Washington, D.C. for an independent autopsy. This came after the Mississippi State Medical Examiner already apparently performed an autopsy, but that agency indicated that the results could take weeks because of toxicology tests. Those findings are pending. Now, there is something to keep in mind here. Authorities reportedly believe this was a tragic accident, that this was a case of drowning. According to the New York Post, John Ledbetter, the Jackson County Sheriff, said there's no information that we have right now that would lead us to believe that a crime has occurred. According to CNN, Jackson County Coroner Bruce Lind indicated there were no immediate signs of physical injury. But this is a story that has gotten a lot of attention. It has sparked many thoughts, many theories, particularly given what we're learning. For instance, according to CNN, Nolan didn't return to the dock with his friends that day. His family didn't understand why he would separate from them, that he was supposed to take a different boat back but didn't, that Nolan apparently didn't have his cell phone with him, that there were reports of an alleged altercation that day. We know the Jackson County Sheriff's Office is reportedly still investigating all of this. But according to the sheriff, one of Nolan's friends contacted the Coast Guard on the night of July 4th at around 11 p.m. Nolan's mom apparently called the sheriff's office leading into July 5th. And the family has concerns about, for example, why Nolan would stay without friends. Christine telling GMA, quote, that we cannot answer. I can't fathom why he would. Elmore saying, we always told him, if you go with a group, you stay with a group. There's also this. Christine apparently told GMA that they tracked Nolan's phone using the Life 360 app. They were able to get his phone through his friends, and she claims that some texts and messages were deleted. And apparently it was actually specifically in reference to Snapchat. Now, one of the things that authorities are apparently looking for and asking for are unedited photos and videos that were taken on July 4th. Sheriff Ledbetter telling outlet WXXV, right now, I know time is of the essence, but folks want answers 10 minutes ago. And unfortunately, that takes time to get the accurate information. It's going to take a lot of hard work. I think the family deserves the truth, and that's what we're here to provide for them and for the public. The sheriff adding, according to WAPT, I would urge anyone that has information or that was on the island to take down as much information as they can to piece together what happened. I say all that to tell you what happened today. There's a grieving family. They have a lot of questions. They want answers. What happened today? Major press conference was held in Harlem. You had the family, their attorney, Ben Crump, and Reverend Al Sharpton, all demanding the same things: transparency, answers, and the truth about what happened to Nolan Wells. So if you've been following this, you know there's been a lot of anticipation to this. We were expecting the family to potentially announce the results of that independent autopsy that was conducted. And again, this is separate from the state's medical examination. So it seems by all accounts, Nolan's body was flown to Washington, D.C. Now, we didn't get the results of that independent autopsy because there was reporting that we may get those today, but we did get something. Maybe not what everyone expected, but Reverend Al Sharpton kicked things off, and he was getting straight to the point.
What we've been told does not make sense. And being that there is lack of confidence in the local authorities, who have already, in my judgment, seemed to have mishandled where it was going, because to just immediately, before a week time, saying there was nothing done wrong, when we hear that this young man was engaged in some kind of argument that was on tape, that his cell phone and keys ended up with one of the people that were there on the island and got away.
Now we go to Ben Crump, and he claims the stories about what happened to Nolan just doesn't match.
The glaring contradictions just jump out at you. The fact that he is there with his friends, and you look at all the videos, it seems to be he's the only black on the island, or maybe one other, but not many. And so, Jared, you have where a young woman he was talking to says that, well, Nolan said he was going back to get on the boat with the boys. The boys say
that Nolan told them he was going to stay and talk to the young woman. It's a contradiction. They're not saying the same thing. One of them is telling the truth, one of them is not. And then the fact, Reverend Al, that they have this video of an argument that is going on, and you know, thank God all young people, they have cell phones, and anytime you hear people raising their voice, they start the video. And so you hear on the video Nolan saying, "Give me my freaking phone. What are you freaking doing?" And that becomes even more relevant when you think about the story that they are presenting, that Nolan chose to stay behind. That's what they're saying.
And he also brought up something that makes you stop and think. Nolan's phone.
His phone? He wouldn't take that with him if he's going to stay behind on an island? I mean, we're talking about an 18-year-old kid. What teenager would leave their phone behind if they're going to stay on this island? What teenager wouldn't take their phone? And so it's not adding up. It's not adding up at all. The fact, as Reverend Al said, you know, they didn't take his phone with them. His mother, when she finds out that her baby is missing, they start trying to track the phone. The GPS the phone, they've used Life 360, and they discover that, well, the phone is on land. The phone is on land, but you're saying he went missing on the island. And so it's not adding up.
So I'm going to leave the link for the sidebar with Jesse Weber from Law and Crime of this video so that you can watch the whole entire video. I made notes while I was watching the video initially, not now. Of course, the question is, why was his cell phone and keys with another person? And then the idea that you hear him in another video saying to give him his phone. It makes it very suspicious. Why is it that one group of people is saying of his friends were saying that he was going with the boys, and then the other group is saying that he was going to stay with a girl and talk to her? That is a conflicting report. Yes, one of them is lying. Who is lying? We don't know. Hence the reason why they needed to get an attorney. Because you see, you can't just take everything at face value anymore when it comes to social media, when it comes to friendships, when it comes to even knowing people online who you call friends and probably never met them in person, people on TikTok. You understand what I'm saying? Yes, there are people who develop real friendships online and they talk to each other on the phone. Therefore, we are friends. But when you're talking about people on Snapchat, people on TikTok, and you're just really getting to know them exclusively through the app. You're not exchanging numbers. You're not talking outside of that app. How much of face value you can take of what that person is telling you. See, because I've had experiences like that. I got involved with a group who was having this movement. And you know what? The movement wasn't even fucking real. And after a while, you start to think to yourself, well, what was all this for? And then when they get mad, when you remove yourself from said movement, it goes to show you what their motives were, because I didn't get involved in the madness with people that I don't even know. Nolan knew these people. I mean, it was obvious they made plans to go out on the 4th of July. What happened that led Nolan to be found in water while his phone was found on the land? Why are there conflicting stories? Why isn't this family getting the answers that they deserve? That's their son. They deserve answers. Regardless, black, white. What's sad is that because he's a black child, we cannot just dismiss it because he's black. We cannot do that anymore. But unfortunately, because of the society that we live in today, people are picking and choosing who is their hero and who is not. Now I'm going to go ahead and play a little bit of Don Lemon, and then I'm going to close out this video. Now, before we get started with this video, I just want to say right quick, some of their connection was really bad on their end, just so you know that it has nothing to do with your connection or mine. They just had a bad connection, but the sound quality was good, and I just wanted you to know that.
You come up a day later and his body pops up. I mean, it's the fact that we went out there the next day, it changes things for us because we were actually on the scene, on the island ourselves. So that's what makes it hard for me to just believe that nothing, no foul play, or to get me to believe that my son would walk out into some water or stay on the island by himself and not have a way back to the mainland. It's not in his character. We didn't raise Nolan like that. If you leave with someone, you come back with someone. You never break away from the group. And we drilled that into him. And that's just, we can't believe that he would have made that decision. We can't. Wow.
Miss Christine, do you want to say something about that?
I mean, he explained it perfectly. Those were conversations we've had with Nolan, not just Nolan, but all of our children. And really just kind of, try to drill that into them. And two, we try to lead by example. So that's just like anytime they've had, football practices, basketball, whatever. If any of their friends needed rides, we would sit there. If their parents hadn't made it home, and they didn't have a key, okay, well, cool. We'll sit here in your driveway until your parent gets home. When anyone else's child is in our care, we're going to treat them just like they're our child. We're going to make sure that they get to where they need safely. And so it's just, I guess it's to a point, not everyone is like that, but that's how our family is. And we've always been that way.
When you spoke in the press conference about standing, how your introduction to Ben, you felt it was a sign, and then a conversation that you had with yourself as you were standing there waiting to find out, I hate to be, find out if that was your son. And you said, I'm not a religious person, but you're spiritual. Is that can you take us back to that moment and then tell us, is that what's guiding you now? Because as I said in the beginning, I'm just in awe of your strength and your courage.
So, I was absolutely hoping for the best. But I don't know, there's that like mom gut, I guess. And so my brain switched to, okay, what if this doesn't turn out the way you all want it to? What if he doesn't come back home? What if something has happened? And so then it's, okay, now I have to make sure that I am, one, taking care of myself emotionally, spiritually, but then two, I can't get angry that quickly. Like, I am a very logical person. I'm analytical. Like, I want to know the facts, and that's it. And so in that, I was just like, I can't be rushed to judge anything. And hence is again why we've made no public statements really, given our opinions about anything, because we don't have anything to give just yet. The full details are not out.
Okay, I'm gonna leave it at that. I need a moment though. I cannot fathom being a parent and being told that something horrible happened to my child and my child is not coming home. I'm not a parent by choice, and not because of fear of losing a child. I just didn't have it in me to be a mom. And that's my choice. That doesn't mean that I don't empathize. I empathize with this family. I mean, I started to get choked up again because this is such a terrible story and it should have not happened. I wish that I wish whoever was around him would just be forthcoming and say what happened. Was this accidental? Was there some type of an altercation where they took his phone and maybe tossed it and he went looking for it and perhaps drowned? Like, we don't know. And somebody in that group knows something. You think about crime stories. I've watched plenty of crime stories. And in this day and age, when the investigators are looking at a crime scene, if they see a purse behind, a wallet behind, a phone behind, they can guesstimate that something nefarious happened, especially if that person never left with their phone. I mean, you're talking about an 18-year-old kid. Yes, kids today, they are all up in their phone, but just the same way as adults. Adults are the same way, where they are on their phone all day long. I mean, I know I'm on TikTok and I see it all day long. People who are my age, people who are younger, people who are older, spend time on that app, which means that they are on their phone all day. This family deserves answers, and I hope that they get those answers. It's horrible they had to go to the extremes of getting an attorney. But again, this is the world that we live in today. Nolan Wells will not be forgotten. He had his whole life ahead of him, and it was robbed, and we don't know why. And we want to know why. We want to know what happened. That family deserves more. I will leave the comments open, but if there's anything in there that's disparaging to Nolan Wells, to the family, your comments will be reported. And with all that being said, this is Maribel Blue signing off. As always, remember, be good to yourself, be good to each other, most importantly, take care of you. Bye, everybody.